Hello and welcome to the coronavirus update for the 21st of October, where today we're going to be comparing the infection profiles of various countries with America over the period of this pandemic. So we're going to have the US sat there here down at the bottom. And yeah, we'll take a look at the other most infected countries. So at the moment, they're both America and America. Now, you'll notice that a lot of these sort of hot countries like India, they have sort of fairly monomodal patterns. So India, of course, got very bad. For a while, you're looking like they were going to overtake America. Now it looks like America's going to get that lead back again. You'll see why I say that shortly. We come down to Brazil. Again, it's sort of fairly monomodal. Now we get onto the European countries or the northern latitude type of places who are hit badly. So this one's Russia, and it's going boom. And it's going boom fairly convincingly. And what I'm going to argue here is that America, a week ago I was saying, this is going to go boom, and you'll see why I say that in more detail here. So we come down to European countries, like say for instance Spain, and they're the worst that they've ever been, right, by some considerable margin. Now you might argue, and with some validity, that the detection on this first wave here, that's here and here, is probably maybe 5 times lower than the detection rate later on. So that's something you might want to sort of mentally factor into that. Nonetheless, if you just take a look at straight numbers, there are more detected cases now in Spain than there ever have been. And the same is true for France and for the United Kingdom. It's as bad as it's ever been. This looks like it's going to get really ugly in the UK. They're sort of currently going for these localized lockdowns, but you can see which way the wind's blowing. It's basically they don't have the stomach to say we're going for a nationwide lockdown, so they're just going for local lockdowns, which basically cover the entire country. Then you take a look at places like Italy, which again is as bad as it's ever been, or Germany, who has historically been very good in keeping the virus under wraps, and it's as bad as it's ever been. More European countries. You'll see this pattern basically throughout all of the European countries, that they're going crazy at the moment. Now, another reason I'm going to say that the American cases are going to go crazy is because of Canada here. And Canada, they actually did much better than America early on. They managed to shut it down for the entire of this second wave here. But now Canada is starting to go boom. And if Canada's doing that, it's very difficult to argue that America ain't either. The only ray of hope that you might have here is that America has actually been completely infected at the moment, and that you're not really looking at 10 million cases here, which is about 3% of the American population, but 60% of the population has already been infected. That seems unlikely, but that's basically the only ray of hope you can cling to in this if you're in America. Now, that's we take a look at other European countries like Poland, and they are crazy worse than they've ever been, or where I live, which is the most infected country in Europe. And not only that, I think it's the most infected in the world, and the death rates are basically tracking with this. And the forecasts are the country basically is on the verge of running out of ICU beds as we speak. And it's not really forecast to get any better for the next 2-3 months, that sort of thing. And you can get an estimate. This was the first wave of the virus, and the first lockdown happened when there were 100 cases in the country. and the lockdown lasted for about a month-ish. Now we have 11,000 cases rather than a few hundred, right? So, that kind of sucks. Anyway, the other thing you'll notice is as we come down this list, we're still at 200,000. There used to be a time when China was almost the only country on this list. And now we're getting down to places like Morocco, who have more cases than China, or Ecuador, or Qatar. Again, you'll notice that a lot of these Mediterranean countries, they seem to be fairly monomodal. I don't know what Panama looks like. Monomodal. United Arab Emirates. Not so good on the pattern. Kuwait. And then we come down to countries like Sweden, who many people, it's always bizarre. Sweden, people used to hold up as, they were going to adopt Sharia law because blah, blah, blah. And now, these same sort of libertarian folks hold it up as the very bastion of how we should be handling the coronavirus. And you'll notice that they too are going boom. But, the infection rates and death rates in Sweden are about 10 times what they are in the neighbouring Nordic countries like Norway and Finland. And we're still not down to China on this list. You get to places like Guatemala has more cases than China. Costa Rica has more cases than China. Japan, Switzerland, again, right next door. And cases are going boom spectacularly. And then you finally, you come down to China. And you really do get this sense that, there was a time when this was basically all of the cases in the entire world. And these timelines, by the way, they're all on the same scale. The initial outbreak in China was here somewhere. And then it spread to Italy and onto America. So the idea there wasn't that much warning here is just crazy. And all right, China, not a country that I would hold up for human rights or anything, but in terms of effectively shutting down the virus, bear in mind that somewhere out here somewhere they had some huge open air party in Wuhan, which was the epicenter of this pandemic. Basically, they managed to control it there, and we can keep scrolling down this list. Austria, another close by European country, is going boom. So basically everywhere in Europe is doing this at the moment, which is kind of worrying. And my suspicion is, this is going to happen to America as well. I mean, I'm going to forecast, this is my brave numbers forecast, that America is going to be over 100,000 in 2 weeks, about the time of the election. But, other countries, let's see if we can actually find, there's South Korea. There's a good, so they had their initial spike. This was, for a short while, the only other country that even remotely rivaled China for cases. And again, they got it rapidly under control, and they had another resurgence, which they also got under control. You come all the way down, right? Finland here, you're now at 1/10 of the cases of Sweden, and they, again, like everywhere in Europe, they're going absolutely boom at the moment. But what I'm after is Australia. Where the hell's Australia? I'm going to have to do a search for this. There we go. Australia. So, Australia, they had the first wave and they got it under control. They had a second bigger wave, and again, they were fairly vigorous in getting that under control. Now, you might argue these are the Southern Hemisphere, so, they're in summer at the moment, so this helps them out somewhat. And where's the other place that we would look to would be New Zealand. Who, they had their first wave about the same time America did. And then it looked like they were clean for a bit. And, beyond some sort of isolated clusters of 20 cases. You gotta bear in mind, this is 20 cases. All right, New Zealand only has a population of some 6 million or something, whereas America has a population of 300 million. But nonetheless, their big spike here is 20 cases. America's big spike here are 70,000. Anyway, so I think it's going to be really bad by Christmas in virtually all of the northern latitudes. That seems to be the way the wind is blowing. So let me put Russia up there. They're also sort of fairly northerny latitude. And that means that, if you lock it down, all of the lockdowns, you'll notice that it takes 1 to 2 months before you kind of get it under control. And I'm not so sure there is the tolerance of people to do that again. I think, once you get to the point where you're like it was bad in the first wave in New York City, where people are starting to dig mass graves, then I think at that point, oops, I'm on the wrong one here. At that point, people will start to take it seriously. But sadly, I think it's going to be a harsh next few months. Anyway, so that's the virus update for today. Sorry, it's not better news. And let's just keep our fingers crossed that I'm wrong on this one. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time.